My name is Shaleesha. Came to talk about my childhood and how I was not protected as a child. From what I can remember, about starting from age maybe 3, we lived with our mom. It was me and my 2 siblings. We lived with our mom who got addicted. And because of her addiction, our aunt, her sister, got custody of us. And even though we stayed with family, we were treated good. We were used to being with our aunt and our grandparents. Regardless, they played a major part of our lives. We went to live with them with my aunt. She was fairly young. She was in her early 20s. So she did the best that she can do. We had everything we needed, everything we wanted. We lacked for nothing growing up. She was active in our lives. She went, did her thing for a couple days, came back for a couple days. We knew who our mom was. Being so young, I didn't really understand why she wasn't around as much, but I got used to it. Like, I thought it was a choice doing what she was doing. But the older I got and her passing, I've come to realize it's a sickness. It's not so much of a choice. Once you get addicted, it's hard to quit. She's had times where she would quit and be good, and then, she went back, and I realized after, this is really an issue. That is, no matter how much you love your kids, no matter how much you love your family, no matter how good you want to be and how bad you want to stop, it's hard. Most of my memories come from, I was so young, so I really only known living with my aunt. My dad also suffered from addiction. So, I realize now, it's hard. He's still in his addiction to this day. Like, growing up, I can't complain. My aunt was just young, and I was so young. I can't blame her for anything that I've been through. My only issue was she didn't pay attention. She never asked questions. She just didn't pay attention in that way. Now that I'm older, I realize she did the best that she can do. Being young, having no children of her own to this day, she took on a responsibility that she didn't have to take on, but she did. And she was neglectful and, I need a break, so go over to your uncle's house with your cousins. It was things like that. Like, see if you can go over your uncle's house, because she wanted to go and live her and be her age and have fun with her friends and, things like that. So she wasn't aware. I don't know what age everything started. I know I was very, very young. I had to be preschool, kindergarten, from my earliest memory. I would go over to my uncle's house. I had cousins my age. He was my mother's older brother. And when I would go over there, yes, I had a good time, playing with my cousins. Then it was, stay the night. And when I would stay the night there, if I fell asleep on the couch or anywhere other than my cousin's room, I would wake up to him carrying me upstairs to his bedroom. Then eventually I will wake back up to him like humping on me. I was never penetrated by him. It was a humping, my pants down, his pants. As a young kid, I don't know what's going on. I'm confused. I know it's not right, but I don't understand what's going on. I was just scared. Being so young, I was scared. So when I would be there, I would try to fall asleep in my cousin's room, because he wasn't going to come get me out of their bedroom. So between him, and then he has an older son. And this is something I've never shared with anyone. But his son used to come in his sister's room and do the same thing to us. And I remember he caught him before a couple of times and having conversations with his son to stop. Meanwhile, he's doing the same thing. And out of my grandmother's kids, he was like the star of the family. He had a great job, great career, his children, he had a home. He was like the success of the family. So knowing that, me in my head at that young age was like, you can't say nothing. They're not going to believe you. You're going to destroy something if you say anything. I would just purposely try to be with my cousins, or my aunt would be like, go over there. And I couldn't dare say, I don't want to go over there, because of this is going on, because I'm like, no one's gonna believe me. I know this is not right. I don't really know what this is, but I know it's not right. Other than that, he was a really nice person. He was a good family guy. Even though he was doing what he was doing, I loved my uncle. And I harbor no feelings, negative feelings towards him. I've forgiven. In my heart, I've forgiven him and what he's done to me. And when my grandparents moved in, I'm thinking, oh, they're here. They slept downstairs in the living room. Like, all right, they're here. And I will go and I'll fall asleep down in the living room with them. While they're sleeping, he's coming downstairs to come while I'm asleep, bringing me upstairs to his bedroom. It never stopped, even when they moved in. And I was scared. And then my cousin, his son, was doing the same thing. So it's like, what can you do? It's here. And my aunt will go, she never asks questions, because who would have thought the success of the family would do something like this? And she just, go ahead over, hang out with your cousins, go to your uncle's house. And I wasn't gonna be like, no, because he's doing this. I'm a little kid. And she had a friend, she would go to her friend's house who lived in the same building with us. And I would go up there with her. She'd go hang out with her friend and we'll be there long. And if I fell asleep, she would bring me and I would go in the kid's bedroom. And this friend had a teenage son who would come in and touch on me as well. And while my aunt and his mother are hanging out, they think I'm in the room sleeping, but he's coming in there and he's doing the same thing. Just confused, lost. It's like, my mom's not here, my dad's not here, my sister and my brother are off doing their own thing, and it's just me. And I was a scared kid. And that scared kid just never was able to express herself, because I didn't know how. And when my aunt got married, he was the safest thing to me. He was very family oriented. So he always wanted us around, wanted us to do things, and it was less time I spent at my uncle's house. And me being the baby, I was treated well. I really was. I was a brat. I was a spoiled brat. We've had the best of everything, but there was inner demons that no one knew. And once, years later, my uncle ended up getting arrested and going to jail for doing something to a different cousin. I don't know exactly what he was charged with. I think we were in middle school. He was arrested and he did some prison time for it. I never asked what was his charges. But when he went to prison, everything changed. We've never talked about it as a family, never. It was like, what happened? What happened to the successful one of the family? Like, who would have ever thought that this would happen to him? And I became an angry teenager. I was very angry. My mouth was reckless. I was a depressed, lonely teenager. I've had my friends and they didn't realize how depressed and lonely I was. Be outgoing, hang out, always got compliments from childhood to now. But deep down, I didn't think I was pretty. You could say it and I'm like, oh, thank you. But when I lay my head down at night, I cried myself to sleep every night. I was lost, I was lonely, and I was angry. And I took it out on people who didn't deserve it. It made it difficult in the house because it was me and one of my cousins. And I was treated like the outcast and she was the princess. They would do things without me. And I'm seeing everything around me. And only thing I can think of is, when you grow up, you cannot be like this. I've contemplated suicide multiple times as a teenager. And I'm just like, you cannot be like this. You have to be attentive. And it came to the point where I didn't want kids. I was scared to have kids because I didn't want anything to happen. I didn't know what kind of mother could I be. I didn't have a mom. How can I protect my kids from family? So it made me really no, I'm not doing this to myself. I felt like it would be more a burden on my mental than it would being a mom. because I'm in fear. Like, how can I protect them? Do I go overboard? Do I be lenient? And it just, seeing the way my aunt, when her and her husband divorced, seeing the way she lived her life, you couldn't tell her nothing. It was, this is my life, this is my house, this is my life. She wasn't aware. You have teenage girls in this house. You can't look at it like, this is my life, this is my house. You know, she took it as we're trying to control her and control her home, when we're trying to say, stop, please stop doing this to us. But she took it a different way. So we just did this. We still do this at times. But and me being so mouthy, it didn't help. And I'm thinking, even if I wasn't mouthy, it wouldn't help. You know, she was just living in her own world. And even when my uncle got arrested, she still had never asked, did he do anything to you? Did he ever touch you? Even then, she's never asked. And once I finally had my first child at 21, I just vowed to never, ever let any of this ever happen to her. Like, I've been in fear, you know, and me being overly protective backfired in some ways. She's 17 now. She's beautiful. She's a joy. And, you know, we mother-daughter clash. But I love her with everything in me. I'm very proud of her. She has overcame, you know, not much difficulty because they're rats, but she's very strong-minded and like, just, I got this. And she tell me, Mom, you're smothering me. You don't never let me go anywhere. It was, oh, can I stay at my friend's house? No, you can't. Who lives there? Do they got an uncle that lived there? Do their daddy live there? Like, who's there? She didn't understand why she asking me these questions. She's just not letting me go stay over at anyone's house. When in reality, I'm like, I don't want this to happen. It's like reliving my childhood. My mom passed 16 years ago. I did express to my mom what happened. She was very remorseful, and she felt like it was her fault because she wasn't there. And I had to tell her, no, it wasn't your fault. But she took that blame on her for having her addiction and not being aware and not being there for her kids, for her child. At this point in my life, I harbor no bad feelings. It didn't destroy me in my life. It doesn't affect me in that kind of way. Like, I could have took a turn where watch these videos, and I know other people who had this kind of trauma happen to them and their lives are just downhill. I refuse to ever let that happen to me. I said, this is not about to put me down. This is not gonna ruin my life. This is not an everyday thought to me at all. I talk about it. I'm open about it. And when I finally opened up to my aunt about it a few years ago, because of her being neglectful, I felt was being neglectful with my cousins, and she came to get them, and we got into an argument, and I just told her, I said, you don't pay attention. You don't pay attention. She's like, what are you talking about? And I said to her, I was like, you don't pay attention because your brother was doing XYZ to me and you didn't pay attention. My grandmother was about to go on just defending him. My aunt looked at her and said, Mom, shut up, because I believe her. I don't think, like, that moment made me look at her like, I can't believe she really believed me. Like, she believed me. She didn't question if I was telling the truth. She didn't side-eye me. She calmed the person down who was about to defend him to stick up for me in that moment. And every feeling I had towards her about what happened disappeared because she never even took a second thought to say she believed me. He passed away a few years ago. He did pass away a few years ago. And it hurt. Like, I loved my uncle. I loved my uncle. It did hurt that he passed away. You know, did I feel like some sense of relief? I didn't, because I was already out of that state of mind. I already let it go. So I didn't feel like, oh my God, the person that did this to me, they're gone. They're finally gone. That's what he gets. No, I didn't harbor any negative feelings towards him. But I wasn't leaving him alone around my kid. At the time I just had my daughter. I wasn't leaving him alone around my daughter. And I would ask him to do certain things, and I think he would do it because he felt guilty. He felt that guilt without saying guilt. Like, I need this hung up, or I need that. He would come do it with no questions asked. I think it was that inner guilt that he felt. And yes, I took advantage of that. He passed and life went on. I have 2 children now, and I love them dearly. I'll do anything in the world for them, and they know that. I'm stable, I'm happy. Everything that happened to me didn't do anything but make me the person that I am, which is strong, independent, and living my life. I don't think that part of my life affected relationships, but I did with my daughter's father. I have to tell him, be cautious of your friends around our daughter. And, I had to put that in him. That was, be cautious, be cautious. It was one time my daughter was at his house. He called me. I'm like, where is she? Oh, she's at the house with so-and-so. I said, get over to that house right now and get my daughter. I don't want her at the house with this person. I don't know this person. Go get my daughter. Me with toxic relationships is not due to my childhood. I'm over that at this point as well. Like, I'm 90% in the doorway of 40. I don't have time anymore. I'm beyond that. My focus is myself and my children and stability. I've lived on my own for 17, almost 18 years. I've never looked back. I've lived on my own, kept my own, maintained my own, and I give my children what I had growing up, which was they never need or want for anything. They have everything they need and desire, and with stability, with love. I tell my kids every day how much I love them. Make sure I tell my daughter all the time how beautiful she is and how handsome my son is. Because I don't want no one to ever get in their head and for them to ever feel like, well, this person makes me feel this way, but I didn't feel like this at home. No, you're loved, you're beautiful, you're handsome. Can nobody else ever tell you anything different? Because you're here from me first. I don't know. I don't know how I was able to forgive. I cannot tell you how it happened. It just happened. It's just in me with them. People tell me when I talk to them about my childhood, like, how can you be the person you are with all that happened to you? Because it's my past. I'm living in my present. I have to maintain a clear head and a strong mind because I refuse to ever let my children see me broken. I go handle what I gotta handle outside if I need to go in my room or take a walk, but I would never have my kids feeling like my mom wasn't there. My mom didn't care. My mom chose this over me. Never. I'm the kind of mother that I know my mom wanted to be, but she had an issue. So I picked that. So I'm how my mother wanted to be.